This is the week that I look forward to least. I don't want to say dread because that makes it negative, but I look forward to this week least because it's the biggest amount of information I have to give you in one block. And to be honest, trying to teach you all of the information I have to in one evening is impossible. I will be here till midnight and then some, trying to teach you everything I need to teach you to be able to bid. So what we have done so far is we've been playing mini bridge. So there are two parts to the full bridge, or bridge, and that is bidding and then play. So what mini bridge does is it completely bypasses the bidding element, and what we do is we cheat by saying our points out loud and deciding our trumps when we see the dummy. We have cheated, bypassed the bidding part, so we're straight into the play. The beauty behind mini bridge is a way of introducing you into the game without giving you a huge amount of information, because if I were to try and teach you bridge and I never spoke about mini bridge, if this were week one lesson, a lot of you would think this game's too hard, I'm not for me kind of thing. So what I do is I get you into the play. So now in theory we are fairly comfortable-ish, I appreciate it's not perfection, but comfortable-ish with the card play bit. We're getting used to playing as a declarer, playing as a defender and playing as a dummy, which means watching your partner flail, I suppose. But now the bidding is the first part of the game. They're roughly half and half, basically. The bidding is quite important, and the card play is quite important. They're about as important as one another. And what the bidding does is the bidding decides how many tricks the declarer needs and what the trump suit is. So what you drop from mini bridge is you drop saying your points out loud, and you drop deciding trumps after you see the dummy. And what you do instead is you use the bidding to describe your hands to one another, you and your partner, and then you decide based on your bidding as to what contract you want to be in, how many tricks you want to go for, whether you want to be in game, whether you want spades as trumps, yada yada. Now the complexity comes with bidding in that it is a language. So in theory these are all the bids. You've got 7 tiers and 5 bids across, that's more than 20 isn't it? 7 bids and 5 across, so you've got in theory 35 bids. So what I could tell you is that there are 35 different things you need to learn. That is not true. You need to learn 35 to the power of 35 in theory, because every time one of you bids something, then someone else bids something else. You have created a new bidding sequence. So it is a code. So it's not as simple as one club means something, one diamond means something. It depends on what has been said beforehand, which is what makes the bidding so incredibly difficult. Because when your partner does X or Y, your bid then changes depending on what's happened around the bidding table. So, saying that this is difficult is an understatement, I'm afraid. I apologise, I can't get around this. It's a hump we've got to get over, essentially. So, the way the bidding works is these 7 bids are dictating a certain number of tricks. So if we just kind of ignore the code side of it for a second, 1 club, or 2 clubs, or 3 clubs, or any of the suits all say a certain thing. And what they say is, I'm going to win X amount of tricks if this suit is trumps. So if you bid 1 club, that means you're going to win 1 trick more than half if clubs are trumps. Just like the scoring, it only starts on the assumption that you have already taken 6 tricks. You can't bid for fewer than 7 tricks, because if you make fewer than 7 tricks, the opponents have made more than you, so they should have been bidding. So the bidding functions on 1 is equivalent to 7 tricks. That's not very helpful, because it'd be easier if it was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and there's a jack end. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That would be easier, but the bidding works on the assumption you have already made 6 tricks, just like the scoring. So 1 club equivalent to 7 tricks. 2 clubs is equivalent to 8 tricks. 3 clubs, 9 tricks. So just add 6, basically. An extra layer of complexity you don't need. But the way the bidding works is you bid up and up and up, like an auction. So there are 4 players who are allowed to bid, you and your partner and the 2 opponents. You then each take it in turns, clockwise, to make a bid. You are essentially bidding to be the declarer. So you're bidding in the hope you win the contract, and then you have to succeed in making your contract to gain the points. So we learnt about the scoring week, we learnt about bidding, well, not bidding, but going for game. What we are now going to be doing is bidding for game, or bidding for part score, or bidding for slam, exceptionally. But it has to go up and up and up. It's just like an auction. So whoever bids the highest is the person who ends up as declarer. He who dares, kind of thing. So, what we say is that if you bid 7 tricks with clubs as trumps and I bid 9 tricks with spades as trumps, if that is the maximum anyone wants to bid, no one else wants to bid above me, I'm the person who's declarer because I have bid for the most. You may well have made 7 tricks with clubs as trumps, but that wasn't the winning bid. The winning bid was my bid, the highest bid, which therefore makes me the declarer, makes my partner the dummy, and it makes spades trumps. So, the problem you might have, that was an easy one because one's gone for 7, the other one's gone for 9. The person who's gone for 9 has bid higher, therefore they deserve to be the declarer. Whether they make their contract or not is by the by, and you score it as you would score it normally. So if I was to bid for 3 spades, that would be 3 more than half, which is 9 tricks with spades as trumps. If I make 9 tricks, I get a certain number of points. If I don't make 9 tricks, the defenders get points. So it's just like the scoring in mini bridge, but I've now got a number attached to my contract, if you will. Now, what if I bid for 8 tricks with spades as trumps and someone else, an opponent, bids for 8 tricks with hearts as trumps? Who gets to play?
Spades.
The spades, but there needs to be a reason why. We need to have a reason. It's not just a case of, well, I bid first, so it's mine, because then you could end up in a childish argument of, well, I bid hearts because I want hearts kind of thing. So there is an order of rank. When you bid the same number, there is a ranking order for who is the winning bidder. Because if you bid for 7 of clubs and I bid for 7 of hearts, someone needs to be above the other person there, because in theory they are equivalent, aren't they? You won't be surprised to hear that clubs and diamonds are treated badly. Just like in everything else, no one likes the minors, the bidding is the same. So the rank is, as on the board, clubs is the weakest, then diamonds next, then hearts, and then spades is the highest ranking suit. So if I were to bid 1 spade, you cannot bid 1 club, because I have bid 1 spade, which is higher ranking. Just like if you were at an auction, if someone bid £100 for something, you can't bid £90 for it, because that is an insufficient bid. So the way the bidding works is it all stacks upon one another. 1 club is smaller than 1 diamond, which is smaller than 1 heart, which is smaller than 1 spade, which is smaller than 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades, and so on and so forth. If you go 1 up, it is higher ranking. So 1 spade is smaller than 2 clubs, because 2 is going for more tricks. Okay, so the ranking thing only comes into it when you go for the same number of tricks. Now, a question you might have is, where do no trumps sit? Because there is a potential for no trumps, isn't there? You might decide, we haven't got fit, I want to play no trumps. That has happened, hasn't it? Although, albeit not that frequent, it can happen. And no trumps sit here. They are the boss. They are the highest ranking strain. It's known as a strain when it's not a suit, i.e. no trumps. Don't know why, silly name really. And if you bid no trumps, that is the boss of that level. So if you bid for 7 tricks with no trumps, if anyone wants to outbid you, they have to bid for 8. They must bid for 8 because no trumps is the top, the highest ranking. So no trumps sits on top of all the suits. So they're in that order. What that means is, as you go round, you all take it in turns to bid, and it can go on for a long time if you keep going up and up and up and up, just like an auction. It can be over in 1 bid, or it could be over in 100, in theory. You all go round saying what you want to say, and eventually you will then get to a position where no one else wants to bid. If you don't want to bid, you use one of these cards, famous green cards, that say pass. That means I don't wish to bid. I'm not interested in this bidding. I don't wish to increase the number. You can have it as far as I'm concerned. Okay? This is an underused card. You need to get friendly with this card because you need to be using it a lot. Because you will be dealt bad hands some of the time. Yes.
If you pass, can you get back into the bidding?
Yes. So if you pass and then suddenly the bidding changes, you can then bid later. Pass just says I don't wish to bid at this current moment, but it's a good point. So by doing so, by passing, you are saying, I don't wish to increase the bid. I think I can't go above what you've just said. That's what the bidding says. It's just like a normal auction. You bid £100, I can't afford that, so I'm out, basically. Now, eventually, they will get to a stage where everyone has done enough bidding and someone is ended up as the victor. Not necessarily the victor, because you might not like the contract, but you are the victor, you are the declarer. And the way that's decided is when all 3 players, other than the bidder, all pass. So, for example, in theory, this could happen. I appreciate it's unlikely, but it could happen. North bids 1 spade. They think they're going to make 7 tricks with spades as trumps. East thinks, no thank you, my hand's rubbish. South thinks, no thank you, my hand's rubbish. West thinks, no thank you, my hand's rubbish. Can happen. It's very rare, by the way, but it can happen. Because there have now been 3 passes, the bidding is over. It's concluded. And that means now, whether North likes it or not, they have to make 7 tricks with this spade suit as trumps. That makes South the dummy, makes North the declarer, which makes East the person who leads. One difference with mini bridge is that the lead is now made before the dummy is faced. The reason for that is the lead needed to be made in mini bridge, the lead needed to be made after dummy was faced because you needed to know what trumps were. But now the trumps are decided before you see the dummy. The complexity here is it might be that South doesn't like spades, so you need to use these bits to communicate with one another what you think about your hand. And you will, not always, but you will often have a situation where you get into an argument. I like spades, I like clubs. Well, I like spades, but I like clubs. Well, I like spades. Suddenly you're going up and up and up. You can bid and must bid above one another to have a conversation. So in theory, 2 clubs says, I'm going to make 8 tricks with clubs, 2 spades says, I'm going to make 8 tricks with spades. It's not really likely you can make all that number of tricks on your own. So what we use these bits for, rather than meaning, I'm going to make this number of tricks, we use it as code. It is a language. So what you're going to go away from this evening, you're going to go away with a huge amount of information. It's going to flood your brain with information, and you're going to go, what on earth just happened? I have no idea what that bidding was all about. That is to be expected. Don't think you're being daft. It is very difficult. Basically, I'm going to teach you how to say hello in a language without teaching you how to respond. It's a bit like me trying to teach you Spanish, but only teaching one person how to say one phrase and then expecting you to be able to communicate fluently. It's not going to happen. So right now, you're going to be in a position where you're going to be having a conversation in a code you do not understand. Okay? Neither of you understand it. It's not a case of you're playing with me where I can kind of help you through. You're playing with someone else who doesn't understand it as well. So it isn't going to be easy, and I'm not here to tell you it is. And to try and teach you all of the code is impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you bit by bit what each person has to say and why, and then I'm going to explain to you how it all stacks together. So if you like, I'm going to give you kind of 3 or 4 pieces of the jigsaw, and then a few more, and then a few more, and eventually you will be able to see this picture of how the bidding forms. But given that this is the first 3 pieces of the jigsaw I'm going to give you, you're going to have no idea what's going on. Okay?
What bidding system is it you use?
Good question. What I'm going to teach you is a system. Now, a system is a word for a bidding agreement. So essentially, the bidding is code, if you like, our language. I'm going to teach you something known as ACOL, A-C-O-L, which is a English bidding system. So if you like, if I were to teach you a language, I'm teaching you English, if you like. I'm teaching something known as modern ACOL, which is an adaptation on the original system used by the English players yonks and yonks ago. It's modern ACOL is what we're teaching. It's the name for the coding system. So if you went to America, you won't speak the same language, which is unusual because they speak English, but you know what I mean. They have a different...
Not really.
Yeah, not really. So what I'm going to be doing is teaching you what's known as a system, which means you have agreements of this means X, this means Y, this means Z, and I have this many points, you have this many points, hooray, we're in game, kind of thing. That's the theory. Now, it's not going to be very easy to be able to get you to that stage very quickly. So what I'm going to be doing is focusing the next few weeks solely, I'm going to be focusing on bidding, which means I'm going to be leaving card play alone. Now I appreciate card play is still going to be happening, so please don't forget that's an important part of the game, but I'm going to have to focus on the bidding to patch you in. Alright? Right, that being all said, the bidding works based on the fact that you want to be trying to find game. So just like the scoring, we were looking for game. When your dummy went down in mini bridge, you were looking, can we make game, have we got a major fit? Can we make game, have we got a major fit? Those are things I will be saying and have said lots of times. The reason for that is the whole idea to the bidding. You want to find a major suit fit, and you want to find if you've got enough points for game. So typically, if you have 25 points between the 2 hands, in theory, your side can go for game. And that's what the vast majority of bidding is all about, discovering if you guys have enough points between you to go for game. The second part of that is discovering if you have 8 or more spades or 8 or more hearts, a major fit, between the 2 hands, to then decide for that suit to be trumps. Remembering our favourite game is game in a major, then game in no trumps, and then finally game in a minor. So, what we do is we have roles in the bidding decided by whoever has basically the best hand. And we have roles attached to that, and then everyone else takes on a role once the bidding begins. So an extra layer of complexity is that when you are bidding as a certain player number 1, if you will, your bids mean X. If your bidding is player number 2, a bid could mean something completely different. So it's not just a case of one spade means this, it's one spade by me means this, but if you were to bid it, it means this, and if you were to bid it, it means this. So the names we have are the first person to bid. They are known as the opener. That means they have opened the bidding. They have started off the bidding. The next player to bid is known as an overcaller. They call over the bidding. I don't actually think that's a word, but it is a word in bridge. The person opposite the opening bidder is known as the responder, because they are responding to the opening bidder. And the other player, the fourth and final player, is also known as an overcaller. So if you like, one player becomes the opener, the opponents become the overcallers, and your partner becomes a responder. Once one of you has opened the bidding, you all have these roles. Whether you like it or not, these are who you are. You're the responder, your partner's opened the bidding. If you wanted to open the bidding, tough, they've got there first. If you're an overcaller and you want to open the bidding, tough, you're now an overcaller. Yes?
If the first person passes,
Yes.
so it's the second person,
Mhm.
do they become the opener?
Yes. Good
Right.
question, and yes. If they were to pass and then North opened, they would still be the opener. If North were the dealer and they opened, they would be the opener. Okay? All the same. So, the opening bidder is a role decided. Once the first person bids, they are the opener. Yes?
How do you decide who's the first person to bid it?
Good question. Good question. Because you could argue it's the first one to shout. On these boards, you will have noticed one of the compass points is replaced by the word dealer. Now, I appreciate you don't physically deal, but the person who dealt is the person who gets to bid first, or gets the chance to bid first. And it moves clockwise from there. So on this particular hand, board 1, North is the dealer, and therefore North has the first chance to bid, should they wish to. If they don't, they pass, and then East has the chance to open the bidding. And if East doesn't want to either, then South has the chance to open, and so on and so forth. The dealer moves around clockwise every hand. So board 2 is East, board 3 is South, board 4 is West, board 5 is North, board 6 is South, and so on and so forth. Okay? You all get a chance. It is annoying to not be the dealer when you have a good hand, because you're desperate to bid, and everyone else gets a chance before you. So that is something you will kind of realise in the bidding. It's a good question, I didn't mention that. So let's imagine we are on board 1, North is the dealer, so they get the first chance to bid, and North opens the bidding. Now, to open the bidding, what you need is a realistic, I suppose it's semi-realistic, prospect of game between the two hands. It's all about trying to find game between the two hands. So 25 points between you and your partner suggests that you can make game. Unfortunately for us, 25 doesn't divide very nicely by 2. It doesn't, really. So we make the assumption that if we have 12 points each, game would be fairly close, too close to not have a talk, essentially. So an opening bidder needs 12 points to open the bidding. It's a very, very important number, 12 points to open the bidding. If there's only one thing you get from this, all this information, 12 points to open the bidding is probably the most important thing. The reason for that is if you both have 12 points and neither of you bid, it is possible you have missed a game. And missing game is bad, because it means you've missed that big chunk of bonus points. So if you have 12 points or more, you must open the bidding. What you open the bidding with depends on your hand. If you've got 18 spades, then start bidding spades, I guess. If you've got a very balanced hand, you might want to bid trumps. So that's something we'll be looking at more and more as the weeks go on. But if you've got 12 or more points, you must, not legally, you can do what you want. You can pass with 28 points if you really want. But you should be bidding with 12 or more points as the opening bidder. If you get the chance to open, you must open with 12 or more points. So once North, let's say they've had 13 points, North opens the bidding, that decides everyone's role. To bid as an overcaller and to bid as a responder is different. You need different number of points, different suit qualities, different lengths of suits, all varies depending on who you are. So what I'm going to be doing is focusing on this person, and then these two people in kind of separate lessons. You need this to do this, but you need this to do this, and this to do this. So right now, when I talk to you about opening the bidding, there are going to be 3 players at the table who have no idea what's going on. Because I'm going to tell you what to do as this person, and then these 3 players won't know what to do because I haven't yet got to the lesson where I tell you what to do as this person or this person. So you're going to have to wing it. So what we do is we categorise opening hands. If you have an opening hand, we categorise it into two different styles. You'll have both had these. You'll have had both of these styles when we were playing mini bridge. The two different style hands are balanced. I bet you can guess either one. Look at that, eh? Someone been watching the video ahead of time, eh? So a balanced hand is, as you would expect, a hand that has no particular preference for one suit. A hand that is kind of even spread. The most balanced hand you can have is 4 of one and 3 of the other 3. That's known as super balanced or uber balanced. It is very, very flat. It has no particular preference. Yes, you would prefer your 4-card suit to be trumps, but only just. So there are 3 balanced shapes. When I talk about a shape, it's a distribution of your hand. If you have 13 spades, that is a shape. If you have 5 spades, 4 hearts, that's your shape or distribution. So there are 3 balanced shapes. They are, one of them I just spoke about is 4, 3, 3, 3. The other 2 are slightly less balanced, but are still considered balanced. So for a hand to be balanced, you have to have at least 2 cards in every suit. And you can't have more than one suit with only 2 cards in it. So what's known as a doubleton. If you have 1 card, it's a singleton. 2 cards is a doubleton. So if you have 1 doubleton, that is permissible. If you have 2 doubletons, your hand is not balanced anymore because you have too many in the other 2 suits. So can someone tell me a shape that is balanced, that has 1 doubleton but does not have 2 doubletons? Can you call it any other?
4, 4, 3, 2.
Say that again?
4, 4, 3, 2.
4, 4, 3, 2. That is considered balanced. I appreciate the 2 is less attractive than the 4, but it's considered balanced. There is one other shape that is considered balanced.
5, 4, 2, 2.
5, 4, 2, 2. What's the
5,
problem
3,
with that?
5, 3, 3,
5,
2.
3.
You've got 2
5, 3.
doubletons, so you've got to move one over.
5, 3,
Instead,
2.
it is 5, 3, 3, 2.
Yeah.
They are all the shapes that are considered balanced. Any other shape is an unbalanced shape. If I were to write unbalanced shapes, I would go all the way to the bottom and then again, because there are that many different variants. These 3, although it is only 3 of, let's say, 100, they are the most common shapes. They're the most frequent hands you will get are the balanced hands. So what I'm going to be looking at is teaching you how to bid when you have a balanced hand. Next week we'll look at how to bid the opener, how the opener bids as an unbalanced hand. And then we'll be looking at responder, and then finally the overcalls. Okay? So this week we're going to be looking at these 3 shapes, the balanced hands, and how to bid when you have that balanced hand. What you often find is that having a balanced hand lends itself nicely to no trumps. That's because you don't have a particular preference. That doesn't mean you always play in no trumps, but it means you are more likely to play in no trumps. So bidding a balanced hand as an opening bidder, you want to be trying to bid no trumps at some stage, because that suggests your balanced nature. So the bidding really, as I say, it is a code. You agree that if I bid no trumps at some stage, I'm suggesting to you, Mr. or Mrs. Partner, that I have a balanced hand. That's what your bidding suggests. As I say, it is a code. So if you were to bid no trumps, at the cheapest no trump you can bid is 1 no trump. So if you make an opening bid of 1 no trump, that says you have a balanced hand because you have bid no trumps and you have a certain number of points. So what we do is we split all the number of points you could have, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up. And we have a way of showing this many points, then this many points, then this many points, and so on and so forth. We call that the no trump ladder, or in America I think they call it the no trump tower. Essentially a big stack of points. If you've got 15 points in balance, you do this. If you've got 18 points in balance, you do this, and so on. So what I'm going to do is write the numbers from 12 up to sort of 20-ish. We won't get much more than that. And we will then look at kind of the no trump tower or ladder, depending on which word you prefer. I'm removing east and west because I'm going to pretend they can't bid it yet. I appreciate that isn't strictly true. So if you get dealt an opening hand, 12 or more points, and you have a balanced hand, you follow what's known as a 2-bid plan. Whenever you open the bidding, you follow a pattern, plan if you will, to try and describe to your partner how strong your hand is and that you have a balanced hand. If you don't have a balanced hand, you will be unbalanced, which means next week we'll explain what you do when that happens. Okay? So I'm going to remove this. Let's just trust that we are balanced. We are one of these 3 shapes. Now, if you get dealt that number of points, you have to have an agreement as to how you show that number of points. So if you have 13 points, you do this. If you have 17 points, you do this. If you have 25 points, which we'll never get, you do this, and so on and so forth. So what we do is we split them, rather, into brackets of round about 3. I say round about 3 because one of them is 2. We split them into these brackets. And what we do is we say, I'll bid this with this number of points, so it's between 12, 13 and 14. I'll bid this with this number of points, and so on and so forth. You have this agreement with you and your partner. So as I say, I'm going to be teaching you a system. You don't have to follow my system if you wish, but it's advisable to, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to be teaching you modern ACOL, which follows this pattern, if you will. So, firstly, if you have 11 or fewer points, you do not have an opening hand. So if you have the chance to open the bidding, you must resist, or not, whatever you want to call it. So therefore, with 11 or fewer points, and a balanced hand, you should do that. You will be very happy when you get fewer than 12 points tonight, because it will start off the you go, I know how to do this one. But you will soon learn to like good hands, because it means you actually like playing the hand. So with 12 to 14 points, what we say is, this again, as I say, this is a system, it's a code. You open one no trump. So if you have 12 to 14 points and a balanced hand, as the opening bidder, you bid one no trump. That is a coded agreement between you and your partner. That is what it shows. If you are lying, tough, they won't ever know about it. You should try not to lie if you can, but you can't go, oh, I didn't mean that. It's too late. The bidding is a voiceless communication. You are using your bids to describe your hand. So you shouldn't, although I appreciate it's going to be errors, you shouldn't be trying to say, well, really it's 18, but I didn't know what else to do, kind of thing. You should follow this pattern, okay? Now, the problem we have is, if that were opening one no trump, it would make sense that, I'm afraid it doesn't, but it would make sense for that to be open 2 no trumps, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. And that will be open 3 no trumps, and that will be open 4 no trumps, and that will be open 5 no trumps. That will be nice and linear, wouldn't it? It's not the way it is, I'm afraid. And the reason for that is game in no trumps, i.e. 3 tricks more than half, because 9 tricks is game in no trumps. Game in no trumps is 3 no trumps. Because 3 tricks is 9, 3 tricks more than half is 9, which means we will then have satisfied our game target for no trumps. So if we were to open 3 no trumps with this number, what's the problem? How many points should we have to be bidding game in no trumps?
25.
25? We don't have 25 if we open that with 3 no trumps. We don't even have 25 if we open this with 3 no trumps, or even this. So having game in your own hand is exceptionally rare, because you being dealt 25 points basically won't happen. It does happen exceptionally, but really it doesn't happen. You need you and your partner to come together to be able to get 25 between you. So what we can't do is have this is open 2 no trump, this is open 3 no trumps, because then this is a very dangerous bid. You bid for game, making an assumption your partner can help you, and that isn't necessarily true. So what we do is we say that this is what you do to open 2 no trumps, because 21-ish is quite close to 25, so opening 2 no trumps when you're quite close, 1 trick off, you only need partner to have 4 or 5 points. That's a relatively sensible thing to do. But we have a big gap here. We would like to open 1 1/4 no trumps, and then 1 3/4 no trumps, and then 2, right? But we haven't got that available to us. So we have a problem. The problem is that we just haven't got enough bids to describe the number of points. We could have 1 no trump is 12 to 18 and 2 no trumps is 19 to 24, but it's too wide ranging. Your partner has no idea whether you're 12 or 18 in that instance. So what we have to do is do something with these middle brackets. So what we decide we're going to do, is we open one of a suit first. We bid our longest suit, whatever that is, and then you bid no trumps as your second bid instead of your primary bid. Quite often, it will take an opening hand 2 bids to describe their hand. They mention their suit, and then they mention no trumps, which is balanced, or they mention a suit, and then they mention another suit, which is an unbalanced hand, which we'll look at next week. But quite often, it's known as a 2-bid plan. You need 2 bids to describe what your hand is about, because simply 1 bid isn't enough. With the exception of these 2 1-bid wonders. They tell your partner exactly what you've got. But in this world, in this middle bit here, you need 2 bids to describe your hand. Which means your partner, the responder, is going to have to say something back. Because if you open 1 heart and it goes pass, 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 that's it, isn't it? The bidding's over. You never get your second bite. So when we look at responder week, you'll see how important it is to respond to your partner so that they get this second bid. Because using 2 bids is critical to being able to describe your hand. So what we
If
say
you're
with this...
opening one club, if you've got the 15 to 17 range, you open one club. Is it one club acceptable if that's your longest suit, or would you still go major?
If you've got 4 clubs and 4 hearts, you prefer a major.
Yeah.
If you have 5 clubs and 3 hearts, definitely open a club.
Okay. So,
Always tell the truth as
Yeah,
much as you can.
yeah.
So with 15-17, what you do is you open one banana. I'm going to put 1x because I don't know what your longest suit is, but whatever your longest suit is. So you open one whatevers, and then your second bid, you rebid one no trump. Something known as an opener's rebid, or their second bid, is the bid that finally describes their hand. It completes the circle, if you will. You open this, you rebid that, aha, you're balanced with this many points. Or you open this, you rebid that, aha, you're unbalanced with this many spades. That's the idea. It takes 2 bids to get across what you've got. So, you open your longest suit, one of whatever, and then you rebid one no trump. Your partner should be aware that you have too many points for one no trump, because if you had 12 to 14, you would have opened one no trump. So instead, you open one of a suit and then rebid one no trump. This is why the bidding is so complicated, because this bid, one no trump, shows 15-17. This bid of one no trump shows 12 to 14. They are the exact same bid in a different bidding scenario. Do you see? Because you bid differently previously, one no trump means something different now. Got that? So it's not a case of one no trump means this number of points. It means this number of points in this scenario, this number of points in this scenario, and so on and so forth. By opening one of a suit and then rebidding one no trump, you're showing 15-17. What do you think you do with 18 or 19? Have a guess?
1 something.
2 no trumps.
Or 2 something.
Together, I think we got there. Open one banana
2 no trump.
and rebid
2 no trumps.
2 no trumps.
What in the first scenario, open one of the longest suits and then rebid one no trump. Obviously, at times when you won't be able to rebid one no trump because somebody else has responded.
Bid at the 2 level, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
Good point.
How would the responder know the difference between the 16, between 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 if you open with 1?
They don't originally. They don't originally.
It's only when you come back and
Correct. So it's the second bid that describes something. And when we get to unbalanced week, when you open one of something, they don't know. You might be unbalanced, or you might be balanced. They don't know. So it's your second bid that kind of seals the deal, if you will. So when you open one something, your responder responds, and then your second bid tells them exactly where you sit. in this
you
bid.
wouldn't get a second,
I'm making the assumption they have bid something, somewhat.
but maybe they'd go to no trumps before you get second bidding.
Potentially. It can happen. It can happen. I'm making the assumption it goes the way we want it to go, but I appreciate that isn't always going to happen. You might bid one club and they bid 8 spades. And that's that, isn't it?
Is it common that when you have a balanced hand, you want it in no trumps?
Almost always, but not always. Almost always,
alright.
yeah.
No, let's
Yeah.
not go there.
No,
Not
no.
always.
No, yeah. It's a good idea to be bidding no trumps,
Yeah,
certainly, yeah. It's suggested you do, yeah. So what we have now is what's known as a no trump ladder. It's a way of describing a balanced hand as an opening bidder. You open this, it shows this many points in a balanced hand. You open this, rebid this, it shows this many points and a balanced hand. The only thing that's changing is the number of points you're showing. You're either weak, sort of good, quite good, very good, or exceptionally good, somewhere in that region. And when you open the bidding, you have said you've got at least 12 points, but if you do more of this stuff, you're saying more and more. The reason it's important that you get this right is because your partner's going to make a decision based on the number of points you have. If you show them 15 and they've got 10, they're going to go for game somewhere. If you show them 15, but really you've only got 12, that's going to end in sad times. Okay? So you have to, I appreciate this is the first time you're doing it, so you're going to make mistakes, but you have to try your best to tell the truth to your partner, because telling the truth is integral to ending up with the right contract. Okay? Making the assumption that they also know what they're doing, which they don't at this stage, but they will do. Okay? So, opening a balanced hand, you either open no trumps as your very first bid, which is a one bid wonder, your hand is off your chest, or you open a suit and rebid no trumps. No trumps must be one of your first 2 bids. It's either your primary bid or it's your secondary bid. If you don't bid no trumps in your first or second bid, you are not a balanced hand. That's what you're telling your partner. And next week we'll look at not bidding no trumps because you're bidding suit and then suit, which says an unbalanced hand. Okay? We're all happy with that basic premise. You bid no trumps either as soon as you can or as you second bid to show this number of points. I'm going to leave this up for those who are worrying that you have to commit this to memory. You will, as you play more and more, these will start to slot in, especially 12 to 14 opening one no trump. That is something that sticks like glue very quickly because it's so well known. If you're interested, and this might be going too far, but if you're interested, in England we play this as one no trump. In every other country apart from New Zealand, if you open one no trump, you're showing this number of points. They play what's known as a strong no trump system. I'm teaching you the English system. So just in case you come up against some Americans on a cruise somewhere, they might play something different. Okay, just letting you know they might be up to some other system, a different dialect, if you will. Okay, I'm teaching you the one I think is best. All right. So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to either open one no trump or open one of a suit and rebid some no trumps, or maybe even open two no trumps if I've been nice to you. Just whilst I'm going up this ladder, if you do get 23 or more points, which you won't this evening because I won't give you that problem, that is something you have to deal with separately, which I'm not going to get to for a long while because you need to open something very special known as an artificial bid. I'm not going to get there now, and to be honest, if you get 23 points or more, firstly, lucky you. It doesn't happen very often, and don't worry about it for now, is my stance. But I will be able to deal with that hand soon, but not yet. Okay? This is probably 99% of all balanced hands, and this is probably less than 1%. So don't worry about it for now, but yes, I haven't taught you how to deal with it if you get 25 points as a balanced hand. If you do, just bid 3 no trumps and have a go. For now. But that's not the correct way to do it, but for now it's good enough. Okay? So what I have made an assumption is, let's say we have, I'll just put a hand up just because it's good to just do a hand as an example. So if we look at a few hands, just go through a few hands, pretending we're the opening bidder and deciding what we would open, if anything. Well, I suppose firstly, if you have less than 12 points, fewer than 12 points, you're not opening anything. I won't put one of those up because you know what fewer than 12 points looks like, assuming we can count. So let's say you get dealt that hand. We are a balanced hand, yes?
Yep.
Yeah. How many points have we got? 14, so we are opening what?
One no trump.
One no trump. Straightforward. When you've got 12 to 14 points, it's a one bid, one bid. It's fantastic because your hand is described like that. It's not as good as mini bridge because mini bridge you say exactly how many points you have. 13 is what you would say, or 14. In this you have to have a range because we just haven't got enough bids to go 12, 13, 14, 15. We just haven't got enough. So you have to take a view. If you're ever unsure, take an average, so take the middle amount, if you're ever like that. Or the optimist will assume it's maximum and the pessimist will assume it's minimum. If I give us a couple more points, let's say I give us the Queen of Diamonds, that now takes our point total to 16. So we can't open one no trump. Well, when I say you can't open one no trump, you can open one no trump if you want, but it is a falsehood, it's a lie to your partner, so you shouldn't be doing that. So we want to now do what instead?
One spade.
One spade, and then rebid, if we can,
One no trump.
one no trump. Now there is a problem with that, which I'll talk about more in a minute. The point here is you could have opened one diamond and rebid one no trump as well, couldn't you? One diamond and one spade, they're both equal length suits. It doesn't matter to you. You should open a spade because spades are major, basically. You want to be finding major fits faster. Now, the problem we have here is if we bid one spade, and our partner bids, let's say 2 clubs, which I'm going to tell you what that is, but again I'll get more to it in responding with. That shows us 10 or more points and some clubs, 4 or more clubs. I'll get more to it in responding with. What's the problem with rebidding one no trump?
You can't.
We can't. We legally are not allowed to do so. So what we have to do is rebid 2 no trumps. And now our partner might think we have 18 or 19, might they? Suddenly we are potentially telling a lie, which is bad. So what you have to do is take all of this one big long bracket here, 15 all the way to 19, and have that as open 1, rebid 2. But it's only when you're forced to do so. So it's only when one no trump is not an available option. It will happen to you some of the time. Now I'll explain why this isn't a bad, well, I'm not going to write it, but essentially open 1, rebid 2, so when you're forced to do so. Now, the reason this is okay is because if you are promising at least 15 with this bid, your partner, you have to take my word for it, but your partner is promising 10 with this bid, which means you have 25 between the two of you. So you are safe at the level you are going to be going for. In fact, you want to be going for game. So it's not a bad thing that your bid is so wide-ranging. It's not a bad thing because you are in a safe contract. There is no danger attached. Again, you'll have to take my word for it, but the responder will most likely be bidding 3 no trumps here, or 4 spades, depending on whether they like spades or not. And it will be a safe contract because of the number of points they are bringing to the party. Okay? All of this bidding makes the assumption that your partner is saying something back to you. If they don't respond, suddenly the bidding is over. 1 spade, pass, pass, pass. Doesn't matter how many no trumps you want to bid, you're not allowed to. So it makes an assumption that your partner is making noise back to you. Okay? So we have...
17.
Oh, not enough. You'd think I could count by now, wouldn't you? You've been in this for years.
18.
18. See, magic. Good eye. So we open 1 heart because we have too many points to open 1 no trump and not enough points to open 2 no trumps. So we are in this middle bracket again, the uncertain area. Our partner responds 1 spade, let's say, which again you're going to have to take my word for it because I haven't responded to it yet, but that's 6 or more points and 4 or more spades. Just take my word for it. And now our rebid is what?
2 no trumps.
2 no trumps. We have the room here to bid 1 no trump or 2 no trumps, don't we? 1 no trump will be how many points?
15 to 17.
15, 17. Why would 1 no trump not be 12 to 14?
Because you've already opened.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if we had 12 to 14, we'd have opened 1 no trump here, wouldn't we? This is why it's important you get it in your head which order you're doing, right? So 1 no trump here will be 15, 17. We have too many points, don't we? So we should bid 2 no trumps. And that is 18, 19. Do you see how it stacks upon one another? As your hand gets better and better, you start bidding more and more no trumps, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last one. The big one. We've got loads of points now. What's that, 21, 20? 20 is that? Something like that.
Open
So
2
now
no
we are
trumps.
doing what?
2 no trumps.
2 no trumps.
Opening 2 no trumps. And our hand is done with 1 bid. So it's very nice when you have this bid or this bid, because you have no brain ache. These bids, when you've got to do more thinking. Okay, it's just because we haven't got the room to have open 1 no trump, open 2 no trumps, open 3 no trumps, open 4 no. It just run out of room too quickly. So we have to have this kind of staggered way of bidding. Okay.